Hi, book club members. I'm Jen.
And I'm Carrie.
And this is Warhammer 40k Book Club, where we read from a crag. This is episode number 151, and our book is 15 Hours by Mitch Scanlon. It tells the story of a poor young Imperial Guardsman as he embarks upon his adventure in the Imperial Guard to see if he will last beyond the titular 15 hours. We posted several questions on our website, WH40bookclub.com, and we encourage participation in our conversations via YouTube, our site, or Encrypted Vox channel. Spoiler warning. If you haven't read this book yet, definitely check out the book before listening to this podcast, as we'll be discussing the book from start to finish in great detail. With that, let's dive in. As always, Carrie, did you like the book?
I love this book. I loved
Did
it.
you?
I laughed so much. I was reading parts out loud to my husband.
Were you really?
Oh, yeah, because like parts of the basic training.
Oh, yes.
He was laughing at that. And then when I think it was Sergeant Chelker was like yelling at that captain, I was reading that part out loud. And when he got to, rear echelon heroes, Sean went, those fucking rear echelon asshats. I'm like, whoa, that's a thing. He's like, you have no idea.
I really did enjoy this book. It's a oh man, it tackles all of the parts of the Imperium that I always find very fascinating. And I think, like, as a person who really liked the Gaunt's Ghost series, and Gaunt's Ghost deals a little bit with a lot of like the themes and stuff that you see in this book, but this one really feels more like a real depiction, like big air quotes, but
Yeah.
like a realer depiction of what it probably is like in the Imperial Guard.
Oh my God. All these things I always had in my mind, like all these things that could possibly go wrong. It's like this little interlude with the scribe. Oh, wait. Was it this number or that? You know what? Doesn't matter. Just moving on. Next number.
That part is particularly funny because I like when he's just going through and he's just plotting in numbers, right? And he's like,
Because what an existence, right? Just constantly having a number, just being, and you're supposed to sit there and pay attention like the entire time. Like, what an existence in the Imperium. That's your life.
in my early career, in a past life, I worked as a bank teller, and people would often bring in savings bonds. And I don't mean like 5 or 6 saving bonds. I mean like stacks of savings bonds. And we would have to enter them into the system. And so we would save them up until we had like a big old stack, right? So it would take like 2 hours and it would just be 10 key. It would just be 10 key for like, so I'm actually still very good on 10 key,
Mm-hmm.
right? Um, I had flashbacks. I was like, and like talking about time, all I could just imagine was some guy just sitting there 10 keying all day long. But it was so funny because again, it that part of the existence, like as moving into, parts that stood out to you, like that part of the existence of just, yep, you are born and raised, and then you will do this job until you literally die from it, right? But the fact that because he does it so much, he's just like, ugh, doesn't matter anyways. None of this even matters. Like, I'm not even doing anything that really matters. And oh, friend.
Yep.
It
That's,
also reminded me of oh, what is that Alec Worley audio drama? It's excellent. All of Alec Worley's audio dramas are excellent. Watcher in the Rain. If you haven't listened to Watcher in the Rain, I highly recommend it. It deals with this exact thing about how flub number, dire consequences.
yep. So we're just going to land on the wrong planet. Because of it, how many people died because of this one wrong number, right? The entire company gets wiped out.
Yeah.
So
The entire and again, when you think about the scale, right? The scale of the Imperium, it makes sense that
yeah,
just everything would be guided by data, right? And it's like I imagine that most of the administratum is kind of like a watch, right? Like
mm-hmm.
all the gears just keep turning, and there's so many little gears. It's not like these bigger gears are checking in on these little guys over here, right? Like they're just, as long as it's
Yep,
moving. Um, mm, mm, yeah, and all because of one guy who's just zoning out at his job, and it's not like he's evil.
no,
He's
he
just
didn't do it on purpose. He was just zoning out. It's like, oh
no,
crap, Was that a 1 or a 2? You know, whatever.
Which, what a way to start your heroic journey as an Imperial Guardsman. Your entire journey starts as a typo.
Yeah. But at least what I was impressed with, though, is that when he finally makes it to the city and the corporal's like, yeah, we got word. It was a mistake, but you're here now. And, you know, this is what's going to happen. Like early on, I kind of laughed at Lauren when he's talking to Repsic and he was like, I'm on the wrong planet. He goes, yeah, what does that have to do with anything? I don't care. Like, we're just trying to live here right now.
Cue Dante.
That's all I could think of is, I'm not supposed to be here today.
I'm not even supposed to be here today.
That's all I could think the entire time while reading this.
Very much so. Very much so. Just this, oh man, and how disheartening, right? Like you, okay, we'll get there in a second. I have a lot to talk about on that one. What other parts stood out to you? And why was it the snipers?
Kind of covered everything, like, you know, just the basic training. When Chelker dealt with that captain. Another one was that general it was the general, and it was the I guess the war journalist or whatever. How much everything depends on them being successful, whether they are or not, and how many lives are wasted because they're lying about being successful because they can't not be successful.
We saw that a little bit in those Denny Flowers Above and Beyond books, right? Of just the propaganda machine, which kind of makes it's giving USSR.
Yeah.
Especially if you watched the miniseries Chernobyl.
Yeah, I thought
exactly.
about that a lot. It's like, you know, after Stellan Skarsgård throws his amazing hissy fits on the phone, and he was like, it is the opinion of the Soviet Union that global nuclear catastrophe is not possible in the USSR. Okay. That's what you guys have.
I hadn't considered that before.
Right.
Thank you for that clarity.
So
yeah, exactly.
What we're doing here is just, it's fine. So
it's fine. Everything's fine.
Yeah.
Situation normal.
How are you?
Exactly. Oh man, let's dive into Arvin's story there, because there's a lot going on as part of the propaganda machine, right? Like this young farm boy, which it is nice to know. Like at first when they were talking about his farm planet and how he lives on this farm, I was like, in my 40. Oh no, wait, actually, when you're talking about billions of worlds, yeah, you would just have an agricultural world like that.
Also, what they destroyed in Lords of Silence. They landed on a poor agro world, and they were like, what the shit is this?
That's a really good point, actually. Yeah. And then the poor guy who
Nope.
Yep, nope, we don't talk about that. Nope. We don't. We love Lords of Silence, but we try not to dwell on too many scenes or details from Lords of Silence.
Especially when it comes to how people died. No.
Anyways, sorry. for those just listening, I'm making hand gestures. Yeah, this idea that you're on this world and all you're getting is the PR, right? Like all you're getting is the propaganda of, oh, heroic, and you're serving your emperor, and look how much the Imperium has given us. And if you're on an agri world, yeah, that's a pretty valid argument, right? Like, look at this wonderful existence we have, and look at all of this, that, and the other thing. And then they have. You have to wonder about the grandpa's story, right? When he's just like, oh, God, yeah, he just served so nobly, and he didn't win, but somebody gave him the ticket because he deserved it. And it was like, this has PR written all over it.
Well, so the sad thing about the story is that I was like, well, I'm not sure this happened exactly that way, but he was like, exaggerating, to make a good story out of it. I didn't even consider what everyone in Vardan said happened. I didn't even consider that. I was like, oh, well, that's bleak. It doesn't have to be that way, but they're right in that there's lots of different interpretations this could be. It's not
100%.
But it's not the noble, the goodness because they served the emperor so well. It's not like that at all.
No, but that's a better, you're right. That's a better story, right? It's a better story to say that. So that's like immediately I was like, yeah, this is not how the story went down. None of this makes sense for the Imperium at all. This feels like, oh, what did they call them? What did they call them in those Above and Beyond? It was like the glory reels or something like that. Or wait, no, it was Interceptor City where they talked about like the reels that they would watch. It's a glory story. It sounded like these glory stories, right? Um, but so he has this idea planted in his head, and he's already, as a dutiful son of the Imperium, just so excited, right? And then he gets to experience the real Imperium. You know,
Yep.
administratum mistakes, clerical errors that gets you and your boys killed.
Right. That got him killed more than the orcs did, really. I mean,
Yeah.
because again, they weren't even supposed to be there.
They weren't even supposed to be there. But it also comes back to one of the things that we've talked about is that the Imperium is occasionally its own worst enemy, right?
Right.
And this is the type of thing where it's like, well, they're their own worst enemy, but what are you going to do? Again, billions of people.
Right.
Billions, trillions, billions of worlds. The machine is going to break down in places.
Oh yeah, when you got
Not
that many
everyone can be the
cogs running,
Volpone.
you know, it's like you can't check all the cogs.
No, and it's really funny, or we'll talk about that in a second, because I kept drawing comparisons to a very specific book as we were reading this. But were you invested in his story? Did you like him as a character?
Yes, I did. I was very invested. Like I had to see this guy he's going to beat the odds, and where was it going to go from here? So yeah, I mean, I was 100% on board.
Was he a good focal point to look at? Like, yeah, this is really how the Guard works. I feel like
Yes, because you know when they're talking about their superiors, and he's just like, what? You know, just
clutches the pearls.
yeah, like fresh off the training grounds, but they know what's best for us, and we must trust in the Emperor versus grizzled veterans who have somehow survived this hellhole for 10 years. You know, it's kind of makes me think of, oh my God, I'm going to lose what this book was. It was one of the Krieg books where that one, the clerk that was dating the governor's daughter, and he's a nobody, and he somehow goes from like this guy who has no training whatsoever.
Yes, that was the first one. That was just Krieg.
Okay, and he just goes from that to like suddenly like he's just now, this is how it is. We do what we need to survive.
Yeah, that was Krieg, right? Because that's the one where
because Krieg was
Necrons.
Krieg was the one where it went through their backstory and how they came about. This wasn't Siege of Vrax. It was whatever that first one
Dead
was.
Men Walking. Dead Men Walking. Sorry,
yes.
I have them in reverse order on my I have them on reverse order on my bookshelf. Maybe it was because I thought it would look better on the anyways, not important. Dead Men Walking.
Yes.
That right there. Dead Men Walking. Yes, that was another really good. That's another really good book to compare this to, because yeah, they you're just like this guy who gets thrown into this machine.
Right. It's not like a video game like that really terrible Resistance game that came out on is either the PSP or I think it was the Vita, where a firefighter somehow gets caught up with the alien invasion and now he's part of the military. I was the whole time I played this game like, this is the dumbest thing ever. They would not put this firefighter in the middle of this. They'd be like, you're a firefighter? Awesome. We have fires for you to go to put out. Yeah. So this is not like that. Or gosh, what was that? Or Far Cry 4 is probably my biggest problem I had in Far Cry 4. This The main character comes down to, bury his mom, and nope, now you're part of this revolution. But why would he care? And why are you trusting
Right.
him? You don't know him. He's never fought in anything before. This is like this to me is so much more, I guess, air quotes, realistic, as much as you can, of what it would be like to be literally thrown into the middle of war and being, blue-eyed, fresh, and be like, oh, this is all so wonderful. This, we're doing this, the glory of the emperor, and everyone's like, God, this sucks. Everything sucks. You suck. Wait, what? Like, you can't talk. What? Yeah.
Well, especially since we had just seen the boot camp scenes, right? Where what would you do if somebody suggested that your superior officers didn't have
Right.
your best intentions? I would execute them for heresy, sir. And then all of a sudden you're in the thick of all these veterans who are like, let us be very real right now.
Right.
We just don't say those things in earshot, and we know the difference between we're just bitching and we're legit like
Trying to
being
start a
heretical right now.
revolution. Yeah.
Mhm. Right.
We just don't say this in front of the commissariat.
just don't get caught saying it, dumbass. That was a pretty interesting one. I thought that the book was oddly like half commentary on the Imperial war machine
Yeah.
and half commentary on the orcs. What'd you think of the orcs in this book?
I mean, they really weren't there, I guess. It was kind of like they were there like as a monster movie. Like they're there in the background. They're coming. I mean, like the whole scene with the sniper Gretchen, that was pretty dang funny.
I loved that because I felt like that was more of like so again, I do love a good book where where some of the authors will be like, oh, by the way, the orcs are terrifying.
Yeah.
Like, again, we have all these books where we see from their point of view and we're like, oh yeah, they're very humorous, they're very funny, ha ha ha.
They're funny on their side. When you're facing them, it's a completely different story.
You're right. And I thought this book did a really good job of reminding us that, oh, by the way, not so much. But then there was that Gretchen scene, the sniper, and that was more, and you could kind of like, because we've read so many Red Gobbo books, right? Like you could kind of put more flavor into them even. But that scene was, at least I was like, there's what we know and love about the orcs. That whole part, I can definitely say that's in the running for me for funniest scene for this year, just because I love a good Gretchen, especially a Gretchen sniper.
Yeah. Well, he wasn't really a good Gretchen sniper, but he was what they had.
No. Well, aiming's for cowards, so
That's true.
once we started that premise, that's why the whole idea that he was a sniper, I was like, but aiming's for cowards. Not that, the Gretchen are renowned for their bravery, but I mean, the second that you have a race
but we also don't know which faction these orcs were from. I have a feeling they were from the Thinky Boys, the sneaky ones, the ones that actually try to do tactics.
Tactics.
Yes, tactics.
Emphasis on like A's.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I would agree with that. I thought that actually made them a little scarier, not really knowing and not having as much detail, because again, to your point, it kind of feels like a monster movie.
Yep.
And it does feel like we can infer so much and put our own spin on them. And again, they're just terrifying if you're just a baseline human, especially if this is your first rodeo.
Well, that, and even the generals are they still eat up that propaganda. It's like, they can't think, they can't plan. These are orcs, they're dumb beasts. It's like, well, it's easy for you guys to say when you're not on the front lines.
Right. And you're not actually seeing what we're seeing. And how many books have we read where the orcs are the antagonists and people will start to say like, actually, I'm trying to think, was it Death Worlder where they were starting to like trying to actually using tactics and like camouflage and being sneaky, and they were
I think
like,
that was the Catachan book, actually.
Right, isn't that Death Worlder?
I'm thinking of the other Catachan book.
Oh, I think it was the other Catachan book,
Yeah.
and I can't think of what it was now. I think you're absolutely right. Um, but when the Catachan are like, this is actually a little clever. Pff, what are you talking about? These are animals. Mm, every time I hear that, I of course think of aliens. How could they cut the power? They're animals. Because
Right.
they're smarter than the average bear. That's how.
Or, Jurassic Park even.
Are they as smart as a velociraptor from the Jurassic World movies?
Not Jurassic World. No. Jurassic Park. The actual good movie of the
I
series.
do appreciate that you said movie singular. Is there just one Jurassic movie?
I said of the Jurassic movies. It's the best of all of them, and
Um,
fight me.
well, of course it is. Duh. Don't be ridiculous.
Well,
Um,
it's like, I don't
I
think
would
that they can
actually
figure
argue
out
there's
how to open
one.
doors. And chink.
Chink.
Yep.
Yeah, let's go learn how to open doors. Foreshadowing. Um, yeah. Anyway, sorry. Back to the orcs. Um, really liked the way that they were utilized in this, especially and I actually think they were the perfect antagonist for a book like this because I think, especially when you're trying to show like,
The terror.
as you said, the terror of it, but also like you have these just doe-eyed, like, oh my God, I'm new here, and the heroics, and when you have this big build up, they are probably the best enemy to just be like, oh, hey, by the way, this is why your life is going to be so short and terrifying.
Mm-hmm.
I think chaos gets a little too cerebral
Yeah,
into it, and I don't know that
chaos
they would really.
would be too much. I think the Drukari that wouldn't work because there's so much. Because the Drukari are smash and grab, and then they
Mhm.
leave. So it really wouldn't have that much of terror with them.
And also, like, I mean, if you get captured by them, they're going to torture you to death. Like, there's all kinds. I'm not saying that they were good. Not saying that. Don't get me twisted. But yeah, I think that that's not.
But that's not the same terror as just this big.
No.
Same thing with the Tau, because the Tau, you want to join us, like you can, like we don't have to kill you. It's cool. I mean, the Drukari are like, we don't have to kill you either, but I mean, you don't really want
The
to give up.
Nids.
But
The Nids are another. I mean, the Nids probably would have been the closest second that you could have used
the
for this
Nids
book.
or the Necrons, I think.
Yeah, the Necrons might have worked for this, but there is something so. I think the thing that's terrifying about the Nids and the Orcs is that they give the illusion of you could do damage to us. No, it's fine. Just shoot at us. It's fine. Just shoot at us. This is gonna be fine. Whereas I think with the Necrons, you're immediately like, well, I don't know what to do with this. Right?
I guess I'll die.
Learns guess I'll die. Yeah, because we also saw that in Dead Men Walking when he first sees the Necrons and he's like, I don't even know what we do against this. The orcs. It's just a little terrible. It's just a little more terrifying. Um, how so when we compare like what books kept coming to your mind? Like for me, it was Volpone Glory. I
Hmm.
I kept comparing this book mentally, or contrasting, I should say. I guess I can't really say comparing it, it was more contrasting it with Volpone Glory. When you think about like all of these rich blue belt bloods, right, who are they're well stocked, they're well prepared, they do not suffer from clerical errors, right? Um, they have all the equipment they need. And then you look at these poor guys, right?
I did think of that Catachan book. I kind of really wish I could remember what it was called. That Catachan book, because of that, one PDF guy, right, that managed to actually run and get word out, and then they throw him in with the Catachan, and they're like, God, we're not here to babysit you, man. Like just basically throwing, like you just got to figure stuff out along with us.
Yeah, I do think we have seen that survival because he hooks up with Arvin hooks up with some of the veterans, right? And he gets to see like this is what we do, and this is this is how we've made it this far. And and we also saw that with what is the name of that book? Kazarkin.
Yeah.
When the yeah, we saw that a little bit with the Krieg, the not Krieg. God, words are hard tonight. The planet that doesn't exist anymore, Kedia. when the Cadians have to pick up with some people who aren't Cadian, right? Um, Although that's entirely different too. But I guess really, I was thinking about the Volpone. I guess really the Cadians, I feel like, I just don't know why, but I feel like the Cadians and the Catachan and the Krieg, maybe not the Krieg, but all of like the famous legions, they don't suffer from clerical errors. It's these people.
No, it's the outer skirts planets, the smaller planets, ones that aren't famous. Like, have you ever heard of Jumail before this? I hadn't. Not that that means anything, because I'm still kind of a newbie a bit, But with how many worlds there are out there, please. And don't tell me the authors haven't just made up worlds, okay, for these different divisions.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Tanith was created for that.
The Valhalla.
Absolutely. Hmm. Exactly. I mean, like, the Valhallan. I think the Valhallans were, unless you're thinking of the Volpone, because the Volpone were definitely.
No, I'm thinking of the Valhallans and the Caiaphas Cain books.
Oh yes, yeah. Oh yes. They yeah. I mean, there's, and it works, right?
Billions
because then
of planets.
Billions. Then you can definitely have this type of like a story, right? But it also, I think, also shows just that. Yep. There's even within the Imperial Guard, the grunts of the grunts, there's still a pyramid.
Yep.
Of, right. There's still layers to it. And you do have these just ragtag units who, and this poor group will probably just be written off as just a blip in the machine.
Like, yeah, that sucks. But we did need some reinforcements. So, I mean, works in our favor. Sure, everybody died, but a couple of people, but that's besides the point.
This was also an interesting book to read on the heels of Firecast, because I had said that I thought Firecast was a really, really good primer for what it would be like to live in the 40K universe, right? Mm-hmm. This I think is these, but that one was more of the horror, especially of the warp, right? That was more in this, it's going to sound like I'm splitting hairs here, but I felt like Firecast was an excellent look at the horror of it.
Yes.
This was a good look at the terror of living in. And those are different in my mind. Those are different. Or I guess maybe the different types of terror that you can experience.
Well, like, I would agree with you that Firecast did a good job, like, showing the horror of living in this world. I take this as showing how awful it is to live in this world. Different from horror. It's just, this just sucks.
It's a meat grinder.
A clerical error gets you here. You have this war journalist who's trying to find anything to say that they're winning, because otherwise he'll be shot, because that makes it real, right? Then you have this general who just gets so mad at anyone contradicts him, so he like purges out people because he has to seem like he's in control, and they're winning. They're totally winning.
Obviously,
doesn't matter what the data slates say. They're totally winning. As they just keep shuffling people into the meat grinder. Like, there was God. There's another book that we read. Can't remember the name of it either. Where they discovered that these two sides, they were shooting at one another. They were the Imperium, and they didn't let the other side know that it was because of the war had to keep going. So you had two sides of the Imperium, firing on one another.
Yes, and I can't think of what that one is either, but I know exactly the one that you're talking about. Yeah, because again, it does become this like self-sustaining system, right? When you are constantly at war, when there is nothing but war, that's pretty much your whole industry.
Mm-hmm. Or and even Firecast. They had to keep this going. Why?
Exactly.
They just had to.
Right. And yeah, there's also, there's so much going on here where you have the generals who, well, obviously we don't lose, so we need to report that we're not losing. Is it because you don't lose because, it's demoralizing? That's part of it, right? But then also, we don't lose because there might be consequences for me personally if we don't win this. It doesn't matter what the data slates say. We're winning. And
Yeah.
that actually works in the 40k universe because these are all of these are wars of attrition. I mean, they have they have there's no such thing as a Pyrrhic victory in the 40k universe. They are
Right.
all Pyrrhic victories.
I mean, if
They
they
subscribe
really
to the Russian theory of throw bodies at it.
if they really wanted to, win this war, winning in air quotes again, they should have sent the Krieg because nobody does trench warfare like the Krieg. And the Krieg would have already invaded the orc camp and would have done something crazy by now because they don't care.
Correct. And I think that also really does show that despite this world being, just billions upon billions of planets, there are still some finite resources, right? Like the Krieg, we can't just have the Krieg show up at every single battle. And I actually really like that. Like I like that this is a planet we've never heard of, a legion we've never heard of, and a dude we've never heard of.
It's the same thing. We just can't bring the Space Marines to every single battle.
Right. Exactly. You can't just because that's always the thing, right? It's like, I mean, one squad
I give you
Space Marines.
3 men.
I can give you 3 men. And the funny thing about that is every time he was like, I can give you 3 men, I'm like, to be fair, that's going to solve most problems. Especially stuff like this, right? Like one squad, maybe a couple of squads probably could have knocked this problem out, but they're a finite resource. And quite frankly, as we've learned from other books that we've read, I mean, so many other books that we've read, some planets just aren't worth it.
Right.
Like if we win this planet, that'd be awesome because we don't want to lose any of our planets, but we're not sending top men.
Like this is a Promethean planet. Now, if there were Titans on this planet, okay, all right, we would have sent in the Space Marines.
Right. Although, going back to what I just said, I'm going to contradict something that I said earlier. It just dawned on me, like, what if his little clerical error was that the Krieg were supposed to be sent here and these guys were supposed to be sent somewhere else? And he's like, oops.
Oh my God, that'd be funny.
Trench warfare. That would be so funny. Like the Krieg show up and it's just like some, pissant battle somewhere on a planet. And they're just like, I guess start digging trenches.
The Krieg show up to that planet they were supposed to coordinate with the PDF.
Krieg are just like, today you're going to learn. Then it really does turn into Dead Men Walking.
I would read that short story.
Oh my God. That would be amazing. Mitchel Scanlon should 100% do a short story that's just, okay, so remember that clerical error? Here's the old switcheroo that happened.
This is who was supposed to go there, and this is where they ended up.
They're just sitting around like, okay. But again, that would have really actually turned into Dead Men Walking. They would have been like, everyone's learning to be Krieg. The PDF, they have the PDF digging trenches in the middle of a hive world or something. I'm just telling you.
Here's your shovel, here's your gas mask. All right, you're in.
That's right. By the way, there is no such thing as a suicide charge. There's just a charge.
Right.
Yeah, that would have been amazing. This is the type of stuff that these books open the world to as well, by the way. But sorry, I'm so tickled with this idea. I don't really want this.
I do too. Like, I want the short story or a novella. Like, I am down for it. Let's get this done.
Let's get this done. I also see what year did this book first publish? I'm trying to remember.
Dude, it's the 20th anniversary this year.
Wow, I don't like the way that you phrased that.
No, because
2005 is not 20 years ago.
Yeah, see, 20th anniversary edition. I know you guys probably can't read that because of the shiny print, but 20th. Yes. 20 years ago.
I didn't need to know that. I did not need to know that.
First published in 2005.
20 years ago is 1995. I will not be taking questions. So it is interesting because, again, when we go back and we read some of those older books, I do feel this is a good book. I really enjoyed this book, but it does feel a little dated, and not just because they refer to the Imperial Guard and not the Astra Militarum.
I mean, a little bit, but not enough that it bothered me.
Oh, no, no, not at all. But I did feel like this book was written contemporarily with like some of the early Gaunt's Ghost books, right? And some of the Ultramarines books. Like it feels, God, I don't know how to describe this. It just, there's certain things that we see a lot of more in newer books that I was like, or maybe it was just, maybe this book really was, he was just like, look, I've just got a raw idea for a book. We're going to follow Arvin. We'll go off to this journalist. We'll go off of here. You know, we'll look at some, like, we'll have a little interlude, little brief interludes here and there. But otherwise, it is just this guy's story and it is rough because, okay, actually, now that I'm talking through this, it's actually perfect because, again, you're just showing the 15 hours, how we got here, and this is how 15 hours lands. Were you surprised by the ending?
Yes, I actually was. I did not see that coming. I got chills.
There's always, when it's the main character. So like I think about like Walking Dead or Dead Men Walking. That's a great example of where like he just kept surviving. Not because he was super skilled, not because he was a super badass, not because he was smarter than everybody else. It just wasn't his time. He was just lucky, right? And we see that all the time with like these like green characters who just they just keep going. They just keep going because you know what? Either they are smarter or they're better, or just man, they're just luckier,
Mm-hmm.
right? Their their card wasn't tapped. Um,
Yeah, as soon as it's where it said that he tripped, I was like, oh no. Yeah.
I mean, he does kind of get to go out like a badass, though. I mean,
He
kind
does.
of.
And, the whole. So when that lieutenant was like, I'm going to take some men, we're going to go scout this, even though everyone else was like, this is stupid. And this is stupid. I expected the lieutenant to be killed and maybe a couple of other people, but basically Lauren was going to come back and be all hard and like, I survived my 15 hours. Like, give me a gun. It's kind of what I was expecting.
100%.
And I would have been fine, honestly, with if it ended like that. That would have been just as fitting. I loved how this ended, though.
I did too. Because, and we saw this in, was it Steel Tread, where they're not down having the big epic battle with the
No,
big bad, right? They're not down there because that's not their lot in life. They're guardsmen. That's not what they're there for. And he doesn't, it's not like they take out the big bad. It's not like they single-handedly win the war. Nope. They just, I mean, they score a victory, and hey, any victory is a good victory, right? But
it kind of reminded me a lot of, honestly, Full Metal Jacket, right? The way it ended,
it just keeps
just
going.
another day. No, we didn't.
Yep.
We didn't. Defeat the Viet Cong, right? But we did kill that one guy, that one assassin that killed most of us, including the protagonist of the story, his closest friend. And then what are we going to do tomorrow? Same thing we do every day. Try to survive another day.
Exactly. And I was disappointed and I was sad, but it was satisfying.
It was.
Because I actually think it would have been really cheap if he would have survived. And like, I would have been happy because I was emotionally invested in him. But if he would have come back and been like, give me a gun, I'm now a veteran, I'm going to survive another 15 hours, right? Yeah, it would have felt a little cheap, especially with all the buildup for him with like, oh, your grandfather. And,
Mm-hmm.
he's got all of these stories in his head. And I did kind of half expect at the end of the book for him to just be like, all right, well, now someday I'm going to, this, or like it could have been like him telling his kids,
Right.
like, oh, this is my story. And
Maybe.
nope,
But I was
not even a little bit.
I mean, I kind of expected a slight Full Metal Jacket ending where he does live, but the two guys that were nice to him were killed, saving him, right?
Right.
And so now he's left with Zebers and Devere who really don't like him very much. And this is.
But maybe they get some grudging respect for him and they're like, great.
I don't
Now
know.
on to the next day,
I could
friend.
see, honestly, Zebers is just being like, it's because of you that they died. Because
Right.
you're the
Yeah.
unlucky number.
Right. But again, and the Gaunt's Ghost books, a lot of the Gaunt's Ghost books actually handle that really well, where like they get to the end, and now, of course, don't get me wrong, they always are like integral to one of the major battles or like something like that, but they get to the end, and it's always like, what planet are we being sent to next?
Mm-hmm.
Like, Abnet is very good at showing just the wheel keeps on turning, keeps on
Right.
turning, keeps on turning. This, it is, I'm going to be really macabre here and say that it is really refreshing sometimes to see that even characters we like get caught in the grinder.
Right.
It just, whew, I would say that not only was the ending satisfying, it was like it's just satisfying is the word I'm looking for. Like I was shocked, but I was like, oh man, that is sad, but it
But
feels good.
so Warhammer 40k, right?
So Warhammer 40k. So Warhammer 40k, but also like you're like, yeah. Yeah. It sucks to be a guardsman. So I think this would be like my two books now that I would tell people to read. Like if you were like, oh, I think I would love to like, oh, it'd be so cool to be in the guard, or it'd be so cool to be in the 40k universe. Okay. First thing is I would like you to read 15 hours. The second book I would like you to read is Firecast. Because let's pretend that you survived. Let's pretend you're one of the cool guys and you survived 15 hours. Here's what's in your future.
Yeah.
You are not the Volpone.
No.
Not even a little bit. This was definitely like I can see why they reprinted this. I can see why this is like a cult classic within the 40k catalog, right? Hard to say if anything's really like a cult classic.
Because I think being in the Warhammer 40k is already a cult.
100%.
So
Maybe if there's CS go-to fans out there who like really liked those books that he wrote. I don't know if we have any CS go-to fans. Sound off. We won't judge.
out loud.
Yeah, yes. But no, I really liked this book start to finish. I also really like that this book did not outstay its welcome.
No, it was short and sweet because, yep.
Yep, I listened to it on audio and like I listened to it when I was folding my laundry, I was cleaning my house. I was a productive bitch listening to this book because I didn't want to stop listening, right? Because you're just like, oh my God, this is so good. And it's moving along. So, and it was such a steady clip.
Yeah.
And it was, but when I saw the time on it, I was like, oh, this is going to be a get in and get out. And it was perfect because it exactly told the story of 15 hours.
No padding, no extraneous stuff that you didn't need. Yeah.
No mustache twirling. Like there were assholes in this book, but there wasn't
yes.
like, some guy twirling his mustache. Like even with the generals, right? Who are like, okay, let's pretend that we're still winning. They're not doing it of like, and we'll just kill more people. And then maybe the chaos gods will notice us. Nope.
No, they're doing it for the medals.
Yeah. Everyone's just
Same
like,
thing with that captain that was doing
people.
that bombardment on them.
Yeah. But like,
we don't make mistakes. Well, clearly you did because we're here. Well, that must be your fault because you're not supposed to be there. Yeah, we've been here the whole time.
Even then, though, I wouldn't say he's evil. He's just a product of the machine.
He's a captain. He's just arrogant. Just
exactly.
Arrogant and wants his next medal.
Just a good dose of arrogance. Yeah, this one is definitely in my running for like one of the top books that we've read this year. I will say
100%.
that not to jinx us, but our Wayback, our dipping our toes into the Wayback machine has actually been very good to us this year.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm a little embarrassed still about some of the books we haven't read. Not you, Cult of the Spiral Dawn.
I'm not even going to acknowledge it.
It's great.
So
really loved Firecast. This is definitely, though, I feel like this was up there in terms of like just my sheer enjoyment. Firecast was a better book, don't get me wrong, but just in terms of like, oh my God, I was not expecting to enjoy this book this much.
Nope, I loved it. I'm so glad, so glad that we read it.
Same.
So thank you, Black Library, for reprinting it, and because otherwise I probably would have had either audiobook or Kindle as well.
Right. We have a copy of, I was just telling Carrie before the podcast, we have a copy of it somewhere, but I think when we packaged up all of our paperback books, I think it went into one of those boxes because we only display the hardcovers here. And in case everyone is wondering, oh yes, we'll be finalizing the Dawn of Fire collection. And then we're never going to talk about it again.
Nope.
Actually, I kind of like when I was looking at purchasing The Silent King, I like had a flood of emotions because I was like, God damn it. We are going to end up talking about this book, and there's going to be like things that we're going to reference in here. Anyways, we mustn't dwell on that. Not on Rex Manning Day. Because, sorry, that was April 15th. No, our next book is more orcs, but more modern orcs, because we are going to read Grotznik, Da Mad Doc by Denny Flowers. Not gonna lie, kind of regret not getting the limited edition like Carrie did. So that's the reason we haven't read it yet, is we've been waiting on my peasantry to get the hardback. That's okay.
It just
Everyone else
released
too.
on, audiobook and everything as well. So
That is correct.
it's like, come on, Black Library. When you release a limited edition, can you release like the digital copies too?
At least
At
get
the
it on
very
an
least.
ebook. At least get it out on audiobook. They do that with well, I guess they also released the hardback with that, with like the Dawn of Fire books. Because I was just thinking, like, nobody's gonna be waiting on the Silent King. Are any of us really waiting on it?
We're waiting for it to end. How about that?
We are going to be drinking when we read that book.
Well, unfortunately, who knows when we get that one, right? Because like you just got this book and
another little something that I'm really excited about. Yeah, I'm guessing it's going to be at least 3 or 4 weeks, but we are going to have alcohol when we read The Silent King. Watch us like love the book.
I mean, it's
Just be
possible,
like,
right?
oh my God.
I mean,
It is Guy Haley, and we haven't seen Guy Haley in a while.
not since the fourth book.
But Denny Flowers has not let us wrong.
No,
So
I've enjoyed his stuff, including his the Red Gobbo book. So
mm-hmm.
I'm looking forward to it. And it also looks to be like a little short and sweet and will not outstay its welcome book either. So I prefer this versus the 700 pages books full of padding. Abnet.
Yes. God. Seriously. Especially like it was a little side jaunt on numerology. I'm never letting that go, y'all. Never letting it go. If I don't mention that, like at least once out of every 5th podcast, do a wellness check on me.
Pandemonium is going to be like that thick.
It's not going to be that thick. What's going to be, or it might be that thick, but it's going to be 2 books. Because much like the end of the death, you couldn't fit that into. Whoo! Sorry.
We're not going to go there.
No.
Yeah.
I think I just jinxed us. Yeah. Let the hate
Almost
flow
triggered your
through.
full trap card there. So I'm just going to go on ahead and take us out then. So we can.
The trap cards like were used in the end of the end and the death when they had a
Okay.
Yu-Gi-Oh
Anyway,
battle.
we're closing it. Closing the trap. It's not there. We're walking away now. So you've listened to the Warhammer 40k book club episode regarding 15 hours. Where's my book? God dang it.
By Mitchel Scanlon.
That's right. Mitchel Scanlon. Which I kept writing as Michael Scanlon because my brain, because it's only one L in this version of Mitchell, it just, my brain is just like, Michael. Michael, right? So sorry, Mr. Scanlon. But be sure to join us next time for Grotznik, Da Mad Doc. Not the Mad Doc, as I kept writing it all day today. Da Mad Doc. Got to write an orky.
Gotta think like an orc.
That's right.
Channel your Cockney.
That's what I keep telling myself every day. Got to channel the Cockney. That's right. We are an unofficial book club, not affiliated with the Black Library or any of its affiliates. You can find both the vidcast and podcast on our website, WH40kbookclub.com. If you like this episode, please like, subscribe, give a review, and all those things to the vidcast on YouTube, Spotify, Rumble, or the podcast anywhere you get podcasts. And come join our Discord. We have fun discussions in there. People are showing what they're painting lately, and I love it. I admire everybody's talent and finesse. Your attention to detail, like I'm very impressed because I don't have that patience. So come join, see what everyone's See what everyone's showing off. It's amazing. And our site also has articles about our adventures in reading other Warhammer 40k books and short stories outside the book club books. So please stay a while and read from a crack. We're closing this because I don't want to let you say anything else because I'm afraid of where you're going to go. Okay, yes.
Chartreuse.
Yes, get you some chartreuse. You can say that.
Y'all, it's on display and I got a green light over it. So it's oh. Necron energy.
All that Necron energy. Too bad that book wasn't any good. Anyway.
We don't. Oh, now who's being salty? God. This is what I have to put up with, people. Good night, everybody.
I'm going to be calm, relaxed, as I finally click this to close, and do my best not to edit any of this out when I do my editing, and not draw devil horns on Jen's head. Yes, just like that. So, good night, everybody.
Good night.